Right, on the basis of our preliminary... Oh god. On the basis of the preliminary phase of our powered descent and landing, I am conscious that we might have a fuel situation of sorts. You join me in orbit around Duna for the continuation of our scientific excursions on this Martian analogue. We're here with Thompble Kerman in our budget Duna mission. It's actually called a budget Duna spacecraft, which obviously doesn't sound promising, but on the upside it has actually got us here in one piece. Mostly. We did have a couple of issues at launch with errant separatrons. Anyway, now that that's sorted out, we can continue with our scientific mission. So, what we have to do is take some scientific data from the surface. Oh dear, really low frame rate here. That should even out. Some scientific data from the surface at Duna's Highlands. Now, I have flight engineers, both of flight engineers head-up displays up here, and handily it tells you about which biome you're in. So currently you're over the poles, that is obvious enough. And what I've done is I've waited until, well, firstly I've pulled up the biome map and I've waited until this huge turquoise aquamarine streak is right under our orbit. That is Duna's Highlands. Vast area, as you can see. We do, however, have to be careful of missing these blue bits. Those are the lowlands. That obviously is a crater of some description. But basically we have to skip over that and end up somewhere along this ridge. Now it's going to be quite fine, require a bit of piloting finesse, but we should be able to do it. Hopefully I'm going to aim to land around here once the planet starts to rotate across to the right. And that should be fine. Let's check if I'm recording the audio input. Yep, I am. Very good. That's always good to check before you start. But anyway, there we go. Thompble Kerman in charge of the Duna mission. We have a lander section and this nuclear space tug. I have more than enough Delta V, or so I think I do, to go down to the surface, do my widgets, come back up and redock, at which point I should have more fuel left over, which I can transfer into this nuclear tug, which as you can see is already half full, or half empty, depending on your perspective on life, whether you're suicidal or a happy bunny. That's that. Half full or half empty, whichever you prefer. And then we fill it up and head back home. Sounds simple. I can tell you that it probably won't be. So what I'm going to do, I do have enough power. I do also have an RTG, I think. But do I have an RTG? I don't think so. I am of course referring to the radioisotope thermoelectric generator that we've made use of in a previous series of Kerbal Space Program. You can see the biome map on Ike still showing up in the scenic mode for some reason. I'm not entirely sure whether that's a glitch or not, but I shall have to look into that. In any case, what we're going to do is, excuse me, we're not going to have a phlegm incident. What we're going to do is make sure we can. Well, I guess we can start our deorbit burn now. So, let's be brave. I'm going to orient my spacecraft in a north-south position so that we don't start experiencing tumble from our nuclear tug. If you do it any other way, you'll start to rotate. Well, the space tug will start to rotate with the rotation of the planet, and you end up with all kinds of issues on your approach. Right, so let us well, actually, what we can do is quick save here, because I don't know how this is going to work. Wait for that to do that. Decouple node. And slowly lift ourselves clear. Now, there is a central engine on here. So, what I would like to do is uncover that once we are a particular distance away from the spacecraft, like so. Then we can just zip around. This is, you will note, exactly the same way the Apollo missions ran on their way to the moon, so that in effect is our command module. Get rid of that. Okay, that's fine. I thought the decoupler had taken off our engine. I was duly concerned. Anyway, yes. We are going to just bid goodbye to our space tug. See if we can see it through the window. There it is. Screenshot that. And point in a retrograde direction. Head down to the planet. Do you know, as you know, or if in case you don't know and haven't followed my series thus far, Duna has an atmosphere. It's not a huge atmosphere, it's not very thick, but it's an atmosphere nonetheless. So, what I'm going to do is, once again, quick save. I'm going to have to activate my engines to start the descent, because otherwise we won't have any thrust. Whoa, okay, those are quite loud. Do have a lot of Delta V here. This is good. How's our periaps doing? That's doing well. Right, I imagine we're going to come down a bit short of where it says we will. Which is good for me, because obviously I want to hit those highlands and not end up on the lowlands. Can we drop that down? Thank you. No. Rid of our contract window. We are, as you can see, well, Flight Engineer is telling us that we are flying over those highlands at the moment, so it is very important that we hit them, otherwise we won't be able to fulfill the contract, which wouldn't be very good after all of this effort and bother. Right, on the basis of our preliminary... oh god. On the basis of the preliminary phase of our powered descent and landing, I am conscious that we might have a fuel situation of sorts. Now, let's find out what Flight Engineer can tell us. I have 2 km per second of Delta V, which is 5 minutes of burning time at this chat. I don't know how long that's going to last us relative to where we're going to end up once that fuel runs out. I do hope that, however, that we will be able to have docked by then. It looks like the chute should be coming out now. There they go. Right. And 300 meters per second. We're really slowing down quite quickly. And oh, excellent. We might just make this. Yeah, we should be fine. Check how much Delta V I have left over. 2,400. Fantastic. Well, I don't actually know if that's enough to get me to orbit, but I really think it should be. Let's deploy the landing legs. We're coming in for a nice, smooth landing at 50 meters per second. Obviously, we'll have to slow down a bit more than that. But what we can do is possibly land this from the cockpit. I'll wait until we get closer, at which point I'll start to do my thing. You can see we do have some residual horizontal velocity, hence why our spacecraft is angled slightly. But we should kill that off in a hurry. It looks like it was a good decision to throw out the chutes early. It does mean that we're not going to smack into the ground and break anything. 800 meters above the ground, according to the right-hand HUD on the Flight Engineer panel. We're doing 38 meters per second, which means we will break a landing leg if we hit the ground at this speed. However, here we come. 300, 200. 19 meters per second. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Easy on the throttle now. 2.7, 2.6. And we're really close. We are a matter of 10 meters away from the ground. Let's just ease it back. Touchdown! Contact light. The Eagle has landed. Brilliant. Okay. Let us... Right, I do now remember that we haven't actually packed a ladder. So we have landed on Duna. That is good. And oh yeah, look at that. Money. We have money. Biodrill scan. Where was our drill? And the hero of the Soviet Union, Thompble Kerman, poses for a photo on the surface of Duna. Right, switching over to post-commentary now for the first time in our New Horizons modded Kerbal Space Program Let's Play series. It's episode 6 and we are already resorting to post-commentary. This is because the docking and rendezvous process was so... well, it was incredibly tense and rather frantic and harebrained, and I really could not keep up with it. So you're going to see it in a glorious edited version due to the joys of computer trickery. Anyway, as you can see, while we were fannying about on the surface, the planets that we were on rotated, so we were no longer under the orbit of our space tug, at which point I had to launch at this crazy angle and try to catch up with it, and here I go, streaking into the skies above Duna. The atmosphere is only 50 kilometers, and I did just notice, upon watching this back as we speak, or as I speak, that I haven't actually managed to find the opportunity to repack those parachutes, which will of course be vital if we are to return to Kerbin in one piece. Now, I don't actually know how hard we're going to land on the surface of Kerbin and whether that will damage anything. If I do damage anything, then we won't be able to fulfill the contract, because as you can see, that biodrill and the hydrogen scanner are, well, literally really close to the surface. And at this point I just hop out and try to take a look around. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door. I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today, and they do, and I took the opportunity to find some artsy screenshots. And this was me doing a plane change, because obviously launching from that angle means that your ascending and descending node will be crazily out of line. And Thompble Kerman holding up in the face of adversity. I'm having a kind of crisis here because I'm continuing to open and close my flight engineer window because I'm so worried about the lack of delta V that we have. Even if you look in the right hand side, on the left hand side of your screen, you will see the staging bar, in which the engines and those green bars, well, they are perilously close. And you can see Flight Engineer is telling us that we only have 162 meters per second of delta V left, and that's 5.4 seconds of firing those engines at full thrust. But here comes the space tug at 3.7 kilometers downrange. We haven't done too badly, and we're approaching at about 20 meters per second. I'm just watching that delta V meter tick down. It's really quite terrifying. But we are in supremely dire straits as we approach the nuclear tug. Thankfully, Thompble Kerman, he is a trained space man, a trained astronaut, or whatever you call him, cosmonaut. He really is the one true Sultan of Swing. Here he comes with the power and the glory. He's got the action, he's got the motion. We do the walk of life as you swing in behind the space tug. This really is imperative to our survival, or Thompble Kerman's survival. Remember that we only have about half a tank of fuel left in that tug, so the tiny dregs of fuel in the tanks, we are literally running on fumes at the moment, the tiny dregs of fuel in the tanks will be useful in order to get us all the way home. Thompble has his hands on the controls. Keep your hands on the controls, man. You've got a job to do. This is what you're paid. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna align ourselves with this. I overcooked it a bit. I overshot it. It came around at the back. That's okay. I'm just kind of gliding it into position. activating the docking camera. This is the first time we're actually going to use this in the New Horizons series. So this has been an interesting episode, the first post-commentary and the first usage of our docking camera. And at this point I realise that I'm supposed to be looking at the nav ball and not the ship. Something that's a fundamental skill of piloting in a Kerbal Space Program. Whilst I can see the target indicator, the pink circular target indicator on the brown section of my nav ball, I do understand that we have to swing around parallel to that horizon and kind of come in perpendicular and a kind of perpendicular velocity vector like I'm doing now. So I'm going to be thrusting towards it using the RCS. I really do not want to use any more fuel from those 4 engines. I have to say, the LV909... Sorry, no, they're not the LV909. I'm not actually sure what they're called. They are the RocketMX brand engines, but they have been supremely efficient. I did hope for more fuel to finish the journey. However, stopping for another glamour shot. I did hope for more fuel to finish this little journey, but obviously I lost quite a lot of Delta V on that landing for some reason. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but here we are, sliding in, shifting slowly over to the left to make sure that we are in line with the docking port here. Thompble Kerman getting excited, and you can see, if you look in the top left, you watch the very grainy image. It reminds me of the Soviet, the Russian Soyuz docking camera. Obviously actually something that you may not know, the Soyuz capsule is so cramped that the 3 guys or girls inside can't actually see out of the window to look at a spacecraft, so they have to use this very complex docking radar, such is the joy of Russian technology. But we have a handy docking camera, and obviously, actually in this case, Thompble can't see the spacecraft because he doesn't have a hatch in the top of the lander can to view the docking port through, which is an issue. I think that makes the screen pop out, the bottom thing in the corner of the window. And here we come at 0.8 meters per second, gliding in. It's a seamless contact, soft dock, and we have capture. And there it is. Busy transferring fuel across in the next few moments, but that is it for episode 6 of New Horizons. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll go back in the next episode, but in the meantime, my name is Fritz, and I will, of course, see you next time on Kerbal Space Program, New Horizons.